Inside a filthy and cramped highway restroom stall, the woman had barely crouched down when a pair of men's shoes suddenly appeared beneath the stall door. She immediately shouted for the man to leave, but before she could even finish speaking, the stall door suddenly began shaking from violent pounding. The terrifying noise sent her into a panic, and she began screaming uncontrollably. The woman hurriedly stood up and fixed her clothes, preparing to leave. That weekend, Nicole secretly left home with her boyfriend Jess and drove all the way from Texas to Los Angeles. Before leaving, she brought along the medal she had won from horseback riding at 11 years old, hoping it would bring her good luck. As they traveled down the deserted highway, the two laughed and joked the entire way, their hearts filled with excitement for the future, but neither of them realized they had already gotten lost. What they didn't know was that a yellow pickup truck had been quietly following them from behind. Partway through the trip, Nicole suddenly became desperate to use the restroom. Jess suggested she just go by the roadside, but Nicole refused. With no other option, Jess pulled over at a nearby rest stop, but the place looked like a forgotten ruin abandoned by the world itself. The entire area felt eerily empty and lifeless. Nicole asked Jess to wait by the car while she headed to the restroom alone. The moment she stepped inside, the environment nearly made her sick. The restroom was filthy beyond belief, looking more like a garbage dump than a public bathroom. Dirt and trash covered nearly every corner. Even so, she forced herself to use the restroom anyway. Just as she was about to leave, a strange noise suddenly came from the storage room nearby. Thinking it was probably just a rat, she didn't pay much attention to it. She quickly walked back outside, but the sight in front of her instantly froze her in place. Jess, who had been waiting beside the car moments earlier, was suddenly gone. Even the car had vanished without a trace. Nicole's heart immediately filled with panic. She searched around the rest stop several times. Other than an RV parked in the distance and an unlit cigarette lying on the ground, she found nothing else. At first, she assumed Jess was just playing a prank on her, so she pulled out her phone to call him, only to discover the battery was dead. Even the public phone nearby had its line deliberately cut. Then she suddenly noticed a bulletin board nearby covered with missing person posters. Looking closer, Nicole realized that most of the missing people were young women. A chill instantly ran down her spine. She slowly turned to look back at the empty rest stop, but there wasn't a single person inside. Just as she stood there feeling completely helpless, a pickup truck driving in the distance caught her attention. Thinking she had finally found help, Nicole hurried toward it, but the moment the driver saw her, he immediately turned around and sped away. Before she could even process what had happened, several flashes of light suddenly flickered from inside the RV nearby. Nicole guessed someone had to be inside. Holding onto a small bit of hope, she quickly walked toward the RV, but no matter how long she called out for help, nobody answered. At the same time, danger arrived without warning. The yellow pickup truck that had just driven away suddenly came speeding back toward her. The truck charged directly at Nicole. Then a cell phone was tossed from the truck window. Nicole picked it up and realized it belonged to Jess. Even worse, the battery had been removed. A terrible feeling instantly swallowed her whole, but Nicole suddenly noticed something disturbing. The license plate number on the truck matched the exact number carved into the restroom stall door. At that moment, she realized this situation was far more dangerous than she had imagined. Ignoring the disgusting smell around her, Nicole rushed back into the restroom once again. After reading the messages carved into the stall door, she became almost certain that the man driving the yellow pickup truck was a dangerous serial killer. As night fell, Nicole felt like danger could appear at any moment. To protect herself, she smashed the windows of the rest stop with a rock and unlocked the building from the inside. While doing so, she accidentally cut her arm on the broken glass. Fortunately, there was a radio communication device inside. Ignoring the pain, Nicole immediately adjusted the equipment and called out for help. She repeatedly explained everything that had happened to her, desperately begging someone to help her, but nobody responded from the other side of the radio. The silence left Nicole feeling hopeless. She forced herself to calm down, trying to ease her fear. She even turned on the television nearby, but the program playing on the screen instantly made her blush in embarrassment. Then slowly, she realized something was terribly wrong. The footage on the television was showing intimate moments between her and Jess inside their car. The sight instantly left her stunned. Just then, someone finally responded through the radio behind her. Excited, Nicole quickly explained her situation again and gave them her location. After hearing everything, the person on the radio told her to stay calm and wait there. They even claimed nearby police officers were already on the way to help her. Nicole thanked them repeatedly in relief and asked for the person's name.
Jesse.
When the voice answered that his name was Jess, Nicole instantly froze because her boyfriend's name was also Jess. Still, she tried not to think too much about it. Maybe it was simply a coincidence. Now all she had to do was wait for the police to arrive. But during the long wait, Nicole used alcohol from the rest stop to numb her fear. Without realizing it, she slowly fell into a deep sleep. Late that night, the sound of a car door slamming outside suddenly woke her up. Nicole quickly rushed outside to investigate. To her shock, she saw Jess's car parked not far away. She cautiously approached the vehicle, only to discover that nobody was inside. Nicole desperately tried to start the vehicle and escape this nightmare, but no matter how hard she tried, the engine refused to respond. Then something even more horrifying happened. She suddenly realized her hands were covered in blood. Fear instantly spread through her entire body. At that exact moment, the terrifying pickup truck suddenly turned on its blinding headlights. Nicole scrambled out through the passenger side with all her strength. Standing in front of the vehicle, she screamed furiously at the man inside. She shouted that the police were already on their way, hoping to scare him off, but the man showed no fear at all. Instead, he began replaying the radio conversation from earlier. Nicole completely broke down again. Only then did she realize the person who had answered her radio call for help earlier was actually the same man hunting her. Every bit of hope she had instantly shattered. Strangely enough, the man still didn't attack her. Instead, he simply turned around and drove away from the rest stop. Just then, the RV behind Nicole suddenly started up and prepared to leave. Crying desperately, Nicole rushed over and stopped the vehicle. Like someone clinging to a final lifeline, she climbed aboard. Inside appeared to be a family of 4. An elderly man was driving the RV. The moment she got inside, Nicole repeatedly thanked everyone while frantically explaining the terrifying things she had experienced. But something felt very strange. No matter what she said, everyone inside only stared at her with confused expressions. It was as if they couldn't understand a single word she was saying. Then suddenly, a flash of light appeared from the back compartment of the RV. Nicole mistakenly thought it might be Jess. Ignoring the old man's attempts to stop her, she rushed toward the back. But Jess wasn't there at all. Instead, there was only a strange man with a blank expression, quietly playing with a camera. Nicole's actions completely enraged the woman inside the RV. The woman suddenly exploded with anger and harshly yelled at Nicole. Then she directly forced Nicole out of the vehicle. But what happened next was even stranger. After stepping out of the RV, Nicole realized in horror that she was somehow still standing in the exact same place. She had never left the terrifying rest stop at all. Completely shaken, Nicole slowly walked back into the restroom once again. This time, even more desperate messages had appeared on the stall door, and every clue pointed directly toward the yellow pickup truck. Nicole tried desperately to suppress her fear. She kept encouraging herself, believing she could still escape alive. But just as she was about to leave, the sound of a woman crying for help suddenly echoed from the storage room around the corner. Carefully, Nicole walked closer to investigate. Through the crack in the door, she saw an injured young woman sitting inside, covered in wounds. The girl's name was Tracy, but the moment Nicole mentioned the yellow pickup truck, Tracy instantly became terrified. Her entire body trembled uncontrollably. Nicole gently tried to calm her down. Through tears, Tracy began telling her what had happened. She said the man driving the pickup truck had taken her into the RV and tortured her relentlessly. He had even cruelly cut off 2 of her fingers. But to this day, she still had no idea why he had done it. The moment Tracy finished speaking, fear suddenly returned to her face. Because she heard the pickup truck coming back, Nicole carefully peeked through the crack in the door and saw the yellow truck outside once again. Desperate to stop the man from getting in, she quickly grabbed a nearby wooden board and pressed it tightly against the door. Seconds later, violent banging exploded against the entrance. Nicole used every ounce of strength she had to keep the board in place, barely managing to hold the man outside. After a while, the pounding finally stopped. It sounded like the man had driven away. Nicole let out a shaky breath of relief, but at that exact moment, Tracy suddenly coughed up blood. Bright red blood began flowing through the crack beneath the door. The horrifying sight sent Nicole spiraling back into terror. She immediately rushed outside, grabbed a crowbar nearby, and prepared to pry open the locked door to save Tracy. But when she returned, the scene before her froze her in place. Tracy was gone. There wasn't even a trace of blood left on the floor. It was as if everything that had just happened had never existed at all. Nicole hurried to the missing person board nearby. Sure enough, she found a flyer with Tracy's face on it. Only then did she finally understand. The Tracy she had just spoken to had already disappeared in this desolate place long ago. Nicole stumbled into the restroom and began screaming in desperation, her emotions on the verge of completely collapsing. Just when she felt utterly hopeless, a police officer named Glenn arrived at the station. The moment Nicole saw the man in uniform walk inside, she finally saw a glimmer of hope. Crying uncontrollably, she told him everything that had happened, but right then, the man driving the pickup truck returned once again. Nicole pointed frantically at the truck outside, begging Glenn to stop the dangerous man, but to her disbelief, after Glenn walked outside, he didn't arrest the driver at all. Instead, he exchanged only a few words with him before letting him leave. Nicole was furious and confused. Completely unable to understand Glenn's actions, she immediately began arguing with him. But at that moment, the pickup truck that had just driven away suddenly turned around and sped directly toward Glenn. Using the last of her strength, Nicole dragged the severely injured Glenn into the restroom to hide. Glenn's body was covered in wounds. He knew he wouldn't survive much longer. The unbearable pain made his entire body tremble. Through shaking breaths, he begged Nicole to kill him, but Nicole fought back tears and fear, desperately trying to comfort him, telling him he had to stay alive. She even took off her jacket, soaked it with water, and gently wiped the blood from his face. During that brief moment of calm, Glenn told Nicole about how he became a police officer and about the happy family waiting for him back home. With all the hope he had left, he begged Nicole to survive and live the happy life he no longer could. Listening to his words, Nicole felt both heartbroken and hopeless. She finally broke down in tears, but the fragile peace didn't last long. The man returned again in the pickup truck. Nicole once more used the wooden board to block the entrance, but this time, the man didn't try to smash the door down. Instead, he wrapped thick wire tightly around the handle, completely sealing off their escape route. Nicole refused to give up. She grabbed the crowbar and desperately tried prying the lock open, reaching through the gap to tear away the wire. But in the very next second, the man outside suddenly grabbed her hand and viciously bit off one of her fingers. The unbearable pain caused Nicole to scream hysterically, her emotions collapsing completely. To help Nicole escape, Glenn told her to take his handgun. Fighting through the agony, he repeatedly taught her how to fire it. Soon after, the man approached the door once again. Panicking, Nicole fired several shots wildly toward the entrance, but every bullet missed. Moments later, the man tossed a video camera through the window. Confused, Nicole turned it on, but what she saw nearly suffocated her. The footage showed Jess being brutally tortured, and before she could recover from the shock, the man began pouring gasoline into the restroom through the window. It was obvious he intended to burn them alive. Nicole tried to shoot back, but Glenn quickly stopped her. Their only chance now was escaping through the ceiling vent. Using the restroom stalls for leverage, Nicole slammed against the hatch with all her strength. At last, she managed to force it open. She wanted to bring Glenn with her, but Glenn knew the truth. His injuries were too severe. There was no way he could escape. Not wanting to slow Nicole down, and unwilling to burn alive, he begged her once again to shoot him. Nicole resisted with everything she had. She simply couldn't do it. But in the end, under Glenn's desperate pleas, Nicole tearfully raised the gun and ended his life herself. Afterward, she quickly climbed toward the ceiling hatch. Just as she was about to escape, the man outside ignited the gasoline with a lighter. Shaking violently, Nicole hid nearby in the darkness, her mind filled with memories of the happy moments she once shared with Jess. But now, everything had been destroyed, leaving behind nothing but despair. And just as she sank into her grief, the nightmare-like pickup truck appeared once again. Nicole ran blindly in terror, but before long, the truck suddenly stopped along the roadside. A man stepped out of the vehicle. The night was so dark that Nicole couldn't see his face clearly. Driven mad by fear, she grabbed the crowbar and smashed it against the man from behind. The man never fought back. Nicole quickly beat him to the ground, but when she turned the body over, she froze in absolute horror. The man she had just killed was her boyfriend, Jess. His mouth had been sewn shut, making him unable to speak at all. The moment Nicole saw Jess lying there dead, her final emotional barrier completely shattered. Staring at the man driving away in the distance, Nicole made up her mind. She would avenge Jess and Glenn no matter what. The next morning, Nicole poured gasoline into glass bottles from the car. Then she tore apart a white shirt to create makeshift fuses. After that, she stood silently in the middle of the highway, waiting for the monster to appear again. Finally, the yellow pickup truck returned, speeding directly toward her. Nicole believed she was about to get her revenge, but the instant she turned around, the man suddenly appeared behind her and grabbed her completely. In the end, the desperate escape ended in tragedy. At the end of the film, Nicole disappeared without a trace. Her missing person poster was eventually added to the wall of the rest stop, just like all the other victims before her. Years later, new travelers arrived at the isolated roadside station once again. Inside the restroom stalls, the sound of another girl crying for help echoed through the darkness, and somewhere nearby, the yellow pickup truck appeared once more on the empty highway. The nightmare had begun all over again, with no ending and no salvation. The truth was, the truck driver was never human at all. He was an evil spirit, a creature capable of controlling the souls of his victims. After torturing Jess to death, he bound Jess's spirit to himself, turning him into a puppet that carried out the killings in his place. It was the cruelest possible way to destroy Nicole psychologically, forcing her to kill the person she loved most with her own hands, trapping her in endless pain forever. That final revelation became the film's most shocking twist and its most terrifying truth.